अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं हूँ आपकी होस्ट लुबना सैयद फ्रॉम रिफ्लेक्शंस ऑफ पाकिस्तान। आज जो हमारे गेस्ट होंगे वो हैं डॉक्टर मुनीर शेख और हम उनसे उनकी बुक के बारे में बात करेंगे विच इज़ कॉल्ड इस्लामाबाद। तो अब हम अपने गेस्ट से मिलते हैं। So welcome to the show and I hope you're doing well today. How are you today? Good?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very good. So I always like to start off the show by having the guest introduce themselves. So just like a very quick, brief background. Most people do know you, but I think it just, it's good to have just a small recap.
Well, sure. My name is Munir Sheikh. I am the former Chief Statistician of Canada who resigned in 2010 in protest against how the Harper government handled the long form census. Soon after leaving, I started to write my novel, which has now been published. It's called Islamabad, A Tale of War and Love. So here I am.
Amazing. And we're so happy that you're here. So here is actually your novel, which you've written, and I believe it's a fiction novel, correct?
It's totally fiction.
Total fiction. All right. So
but historical fiction.
Historical fiction. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Dr. Munir Sheikh, we're very happy that you're here, and obviously I'd love to know more. So first of all, why did you, because you're a statistician, you retired, you said, you left your job. So what made you write this fiction? Because I know you've written many other books related to your job in the past. So what made you write a fiction book?
Well, let me tell you a bit of a story.
Okay.
It was 1965, I was in Pakistan, and there was this war between India and Pakistan. And I saw the horrible consequences of that war. I saw, houses being blown up by bombs. I saw a house completely destroyed by a bomb, and the people living in that house turned into ash. It was just a devastating scene. And I said to myself when I saw that, that I'm going to do something about it. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I said something has to be done about this because it is insanity.
What year was this?
It was 65, the
65
India-Pakistan
war.
war.
Yes.
And then, of course, I did my studies, came to Canada, started working, and 2010 I left. But that thought of doing something about it never went away, and so I landed with the idea of writing a novel, a fiction, because I came to the conclusion that there are some harsh realities of life that can only be communicated effectively through fiction, and so that's what I started to do.
Right. Okay. So what would you say is the main theme of the book?
The main theme of the book can, I think, be really well described by by what this book is about. So the book is, as I said, historical fiction. It largely covers the period from September 65, the war, and December 2007, the assassination of a prime minister. And in between, there's a lot of bad stuff happening. The country got divided. East Pakistan became Bangladesh. A president took over who spread religious extremism, initiated the rise of terrorism, September 2011, and then, of course, the war within Pakistan, the bombing of the Lal Masjid by the military government, and then finally the assassination of a former prime minister. So it is a really intense period. Lots of bad things happened during that period, and so you asked me about the theme of the novel. The theme is, given all that bad stuff, how does this one family, a fictional family that I'm tracking, how do they cope with it?
Yeah.
It is that effort on their part to deal with all of the bad things happening to them and to their country. How do they deal with it? And I think there's a lot to be learned from their behavior, their actions, their attitudes, and so that's what the book talks about.
So the book is about a family who struggles through the war and survives?
Yes, it is about that family.
So who is the main character?
Well, the main character is this man who is an army man.
Okay.
He joins the army, becomes a colonel at the end.
Right.
And then, of course, his wife and his daughter and his father
Okay.
They are the key characters in the book.
And what is his name, the main character's name?
The main character's name is Khalid,
Khalid. Okay.
and the father's name is Tariq. The wife is Maryam, and the two daughters are Zainab and Aisha.
Okay. So, how do you go about deciding names for your characters? I'm just curious about that. Or did you already have?
There is no scientific basis. It
Okay.
just, you know,
It just occurred to you that maybe these are likable names for the characters.
There are some names that were very, important for me. Like, for example, the
Okay.
two daughters, Zainab and Aisha.
Yeah.
I named them because I liked these two
These two
names
names,
and the two
okay.
women behind those two names. So Zainab
Yes.
and Aisha, it was very simple. Maryam, I named because I saw this woman who seemed to me to be pretty close to what I was trying to depict, a real life person. So I
Okay,
named
okay.
her Maryam.
Yeah.
Khalid was named by his father, who was thinking about Khalid bin Walid, the great Khalid
Yes.
bin Walid. So he was named after that great figure. Tariq, there's no big story behind that.
Okay. And then how many chapters would you say are in this book?
I'm not quite sure anymore, but I think there are about 33 chapters. Yeah.
Okay. So seems like an interesting book. And then is it all orange because you're trying to depict the war scene?
It's the war scene. You can see the orange depicting the war scene. You can see the smoke. You can see
Exactly.
the helicopter bombing a mosque, which is exactly what happened in Pakistan in 2007.
Right. And let's talk about the name of the book. Why did you name it this, Islamabad?
Actually, I started with something completely different.
Yeah.
It went to my publisher, and the publisher said, it's a cute title, but somebody looking at that title won't know what this book is about. So he gave me a title, and I said, I don't like it. And then he said, well, change it. So I changed it. And I actually, in that long title, I inserted the word Islamabad. He looked at it and he said, I've got a title for you. He said, okay, what is it? He said, it's Islamabad. So I said, why do you pick
Yeah.
Islamabad? He said, your book is about the consequences of power,
Okay.
and power is in Islamabad.
Because
so
it's the
Islamabad
capital.
represents the source of power. And then he added the words, a tale of war and love. And he said,
Yeah.
your book, the period you cover, there are many wars in that period, and it is those wars which are creating devastation in the country.
Right.
And the love part is that this family is bound together with love. That is the glue that is holding it together.
Yeah.
And it is that glue which is allowing that family to cope with the consequences. So that's the title I would suggest. I said it's great. I really like it. So that's how we got it.
That's how you got it. So does the story talk about his whole life, or the main character, or like his, he grows up, becomes the army general,
Yeah, I mean,
gets married, has the kids?
he starts. He's born in '65
Okay.
during the war and rises to become a colonel in the army. I don't want to reveal too much, but he goes
Yeah.
through a tough time, and I should say his wife Maryam. She is brilliant, and she is the real force behind the family. She is
Right.
the one who is keeping the family together. And so the family is something that I hope people can read about it, think about it,
Right.
learn from it, because these
Are you-
characters are unique.
Are you able to provide us a bit of a briefing of the book? Like, what should one anticipate when they're reading your book?
Well, I think what you should anticipate is that things are quite bleak during that
Yeah.
period. I mean, you have wars, you have 4 military dictators,
You're right.
you have 2 prime ministers killed, you have terrorism, and you have a bombing of the mosque. So it's a pretty bleak, intense period that
Right.
I've covered. But then
And a
you should-
crucial period too. for
very
Pakistan,
crucial period.
exactly.
And then you should also anticipate, as I track this family, that this family is going to face pretty, strong, large hardship,
Exactly.
and should also hopefully anticipate that they're going to try to do something about it.
Right.
It's not going to be easy to deal with what they face, but they really struggle.
And they really struggle, so it helps people to kind of understand what their struggle was.
Yes.
And actually the country's struggle as well,
Yes.
right?
And how do they cope with it? And the reason I think fiction is really effective in communicating, you read stories in the media which say, there's a war, so many people have been killed and so many houses have been destroyed, but you don't really get the impact of that.
Oh.
If you follow an individual who is being affected by this, that is when you begin to feel what war really means. And that is, I think, that we need to begin to appreciate for us to take steps to deal with the consequences of bad government. If you don't have those feelings, you don't really feel like doing anything about it.
We just see the outside scope, right?
Right, so
we don't really feel it ourselves until we're, going to be right there, experiencing like this family does.
So my hope is that given what Pakistan is going through right now, to bring out the impact of that on humans, you need to begin to appreciate what these people are going through.
Right.
And this book really tells you the stories of these people. What are they going through?
What are they going through?
So you
exactly.
begin to get their emotions and the consequences of it. And I think that, in my mind, is truly important for us to take some steps to do something about it, so these bad things don't happen again.
Of course, exactly. And do you have a favorite part in the book?
Oh, I have lots of favorite parts, like my
Okay.
story of 1947, the partition of India, which is a backstory. I tell it because
Is
that
it like
was the time I was born.
Okay, so is it his father telling that story?
His father is telling the story of how they escaped from India during
come to
partition
Pakistan.
to come to Pakistan, which is somewhat the story that my family went through, and it is also a bigger picture that I heard from my brother when I went to visit him a couple of years ago. He wasn't well, so I sat down with him for 2 weeks to try to understand the partition, and most of what I write about that is what he told me. And
So is it a whole chapter on partition?
there's a chapter called 1947.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you'd say that's one of your favorite parts.
It is a favorite part, but
It's also an important part for all
That's right.
Pakistanis, right?
yeah,
Because that's our history.
I would say my most favorite part of the book is the very last piece of it, which I don't call a chapter, it's epilogue. The book ends in 2007, but then I have this epilogue, March 2024, which is just a few months ago.
Right.
And it's just an update on these two girls, Zainab and Aisha. And I mean, you asked for my favorite part, that is my favorite part.
Okay. And in the end, I'm assuming they're adults, right? When the book ends?
Yes,
Both of them?
they are adults.
And do
yeah.
they join the army too? Or are you not allowed to reveal
I
that?
won't reveal.
Because it'll give it away for the
Yes.
actual readers. So what are you hoping to achieve by, from everybody buying this book and reading it? What are you hoping that people will actually feel?
Well,
I know
let
you
me-
mentioned the struggle, but is there anything else?
But let me mention that I made a commitment to myself in 1965 when I was 18 years old that I should do something about it. And
Yes.
this book is, I've done it. So in that sense, my mission in a limited way is complete. But my bigger mission is these things that keep happening in developing countries, poor countries, and we immigrants, from all over the world living in this country, we never forget what's going on in back home. What is going on. So most immigrants are in that situation, and most people who are living here as come from abroad as immigrants, they have left those countries because their governments have been pretty bad. They have
Pretty bad. There's
they
no
have
security.
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
no
there's so many
health
consequences, but
system.
it's mostly bad governments.
Yes.
So I'm just hoping that these folks who have come here and they're still thinking about their country, they should read this book and see, what exactly is the impact of what goes on.
What goes on,
And hopefully, we people at least living in Canada, US, outside, will take some steps to do something about it, and hopefully our brothers and sisters in our countries would think about that as well and say, this thing needs to stop. We can't keep living like this. And that's my hope. Of course, it's just asking too much. But I think if some people reading this book say, enough is enough, let's do something about it.
Who do you think will be your target audience?
My target audience, frankly, is all immigrants living in countries outside the countries from there come, because they have a greater opportunity to do something about what's going on. So that is my first level audience that I'm trying to get to, and my second level audience, of course, is people back home, who are the more people who read this book, the happier I would be, because hopefully some of them would be affected by what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and maybe our children, that are the generation from here, perhaps.
Like I can tell you, I have 3 boys, and one of them has read this book 50 times at least to comment on it. And he just tells me, he said, Abu, I'm so happy you wrote this. I have learned so much from it, and hopefully other kids would benefit from it as well.
So let's discuss a little bit. How much is the book?
The book, I think it's about $27 Canadian.
Okay.
Then of course there's some shipping cost and stuff.
Of course. So say let's say around
about $30.
$30. It's a paperback, which is good. And how can people, right now I think you mentioned people can pre-order it?
People can pre-order it at Amazon.ca, Amazon.com, from Indigo, from Barnes and Nobles. And of course, I have some copies of this, and I'm holding some events at Indigo, for example, on September 14th.
So when are
and 28th.
let's talk about your events that you have coming up. You mentioned you have 2 or 3 Indigo events?
2 in Ottawa, 1 in Toronto, September 14th, September 28th, here at South Keys and Rideau Centre.
So sorry, which one is at South Keys?
On September 14th.
September 14th at South Keys Indigo. What would be the timing?
Noon.
Noon
to 2 p.m.
And then the other one in Ottawa?
Rideau Centre, same timing.
Same time. So Rideau Centre on which date?
September 28th.
September 28th. So September 14th at South Keys at 12 noon, and then September 28th at Rideau Centre, Indigo at 12 noon as well. And then for the viewers who are in Toronto?
It's at the Indigo at the Well. There's a place called the Well, and it is on October the 10th, 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. And you'll be there. You can sign the book for people.
I will be there with a few copies and sign the book.
And they'll be able to purchase it. That's fantastic. So, all right. And then you mentioned that on Amazon, if they order it now, when will they receive it?
They'll ship it on October the 1st.
October the 1st?
Yes.
Okay. So that's not too far off. So the viewers have an option. Either they can pre-order on Amazon from anywhere, and they'll receive it October the 1st, or they can go to the book signing in Ottawa. There are 2 of them in September, and 1 in Toronto, where Dr. Munir Sheikh will be there himself, and he'll be able to sign your book. So that's great. Is there anything you'd like to add before we end the show?
Just that, repeat what I said earlier. Please get a copy of the book, read it, see what bad governments do to humans, and do something about it. It isn't a time to be quiet. We need to act.
We need to act, exactly. So thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'm sure everybody will be out there rushing to get your book. I know I'll try to get to your book signing as well, at least one of them, the ones in Ottawa, and get you a hold of your book. Thank you so much.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much for coming. उम्मीद है कि आज का शो आपने एंजॉय करा होगा डॉक्टर मुनीर शेख के साथ। उन्होंने जो बुक लिखी है, फिक्शन नावल अबाउट इस्लामाबाद, वॉर के बारे में और गवर्नमेंट के बारे में, तो वो काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग लग रही है। और अगर आपको उनकी बुक चाहिए तो आप अमेज़ॉन पे ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं, और फिर या उनकी बुक साइनिंग है सितंबर 14 को साउथ कीज़ में 12 बजे, या सितंबर 28 को रीडो सेंटर में दोनों इंडिगो पे, जहाँ पे वो खुद होंगे वहाँ से भी आप ले सकते हैं. Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. So today we're here at the 23rd annual Dill Canada program in Ottawa, and I have with me here a board member, Nama Malik, and of course our president, Javed Sumro. So let's have a quick chat with them about today's program.
Sure.
So Javed Bhai, why don't you tell us a brief history about this Dill? What do they do? When did it get started?
Okay, Dill was started in the US by a lady called Fiza. She saw the need to educate girls in Pakistan, poor girls. You know, they have no access to education. There's no schools. The parents want their kids to be educated, but there was nothing. So she started a charity called Development in Literacy, which of course we call Dill, D-I-L. The statistics keep on changing every year, and that's why I have this pamphlet with me, because the latest figure is that we are currently teaching close to 62,000 students.
Phenomenal.
The teacher to student ratio is as good as any Western country. I mean, there's 23 kids to a class.
Yeah.
Get top education. The school standards is phenomenal. We emphasize on teachers. The teachers have to be professional. All this is taken care of by Dill. There's about 3,000 teachers.
I'm sorry, how many schools did you say there are
There's
now?
137 schools
Amazing.
run by Dill. Now, all this, how do we support them? This is what we do. See what's happening here now. We will raise monies here that we will send to Pakistan. There's chapters in the US, there's a chapter in the UK, in Australia. They do fundraisers like these, and any monies that are collected are then dispersed to Pakistan to run the schools. Okay, and they do a phenomenal job.
They do. And are you a registered charity?
We are a registered charity in Canada, so for every function that we do, a tax receipt is issued. I want to emphasize the fact that this is the 23rd function that we're doing, the fundraising gala that we're doing in Ottawa. So Dill has been in Ottawa for 23 years. Most of the board members are the original board members.
Yes, they are.
That shows the dedication, the hard work. You know, to put something together like this is no mean task. They do a phenomenal job. You know, collecting money. We're given a budget every year, and we have to meet that budget. So that dedication is there from our team, and they all pull their weight in.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Let's have a little chat with Nama. Nama, why don't you tell us about today's program? What's in store for us today?
Sure. So today we have a wonderful show as always. We have some entertainment, we have dancers, we have a musical segment with a couple of vocalists, and then of course a wonderful dinner, and we have speeches, and looking forward to hearing from our keynote speaker as well. So it's a really nice sort of mix of a nice evening tonight, and we have a wonderful silent auction table as well with great items, and it's a wonderful way to make a donation because 100% of the proceeds from the silent auction goes directly to the Dill students in Pakistan.
Excellent. And is it going to be the grand buffet like it usually is at Blue Legacy?
Yes, absolutely. Nothing short of that. We have a great reputation here, so we're looking forward to the wonderful buffet.
All right. So super
Can I
excited.
say
Of course
one
you can.
thing? I need to emphasize the fact that, you know, we're very lucky to be living in Canada. And for us, spending $12 a day is nothing. Do you know it costs $12 per month per student? That is what the cost is.
It's nothing. $12 is nothing.
Honestly, and we are encouraging.
What is it for the whole year?
It'll be $150 per student.
It's on the tables, right?
Yeah, it is on the tables. So if you sponsor a child, it's only $150 per year. And when you break it down, that's less than $1. It's 50 cents a day. Just
Exactly.
about.
Amazing.
And that gives these kids education. You will see some samples of it. And we've interviewed some kids who want to be doctors and teachers and pilots. You know, they all have their dreams,
Exactly.
and we're doing a very little bit to fulfill those dreams for them.
You guys are doing a fabulous job, and I think it's upon all of us to support charities like yourself. And they're going for good causes. So definitely, I will pledge to everybody, if you were not able to attend tonight's event, just go on their website and make a quick donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.